I got a message from one of my nerdy high school friends that he has a girlfriend because he learned about this pickup artist techniques. And like he somehow managed to use that to get a girlfriend. And I should look this up because it's like, it's like the new thing. And I
It's
was just
magic.
so shocked by this because I thought this guy was an even bigger loser than I was. Like, if this guy was able to get girls, then like some of my fundamental assumptions about the world were wrong.
Looking for your player too? Welcome to the Date Like a Nerd podcast, where your gamer skills, dice rolls, and cosplay are your greatest dating assets. I'm Alex, and I'm a dating coach who helps shy, introvert nerds find their player two organically. I've interviewed hundreds of nerds and learned what really works. Here we skip the just be confident cliches and get real about how nerds actually made their player two. Are you ready? Welcome to the podcast. I'm Alex, and I help shy, introverted nerds get over their fears and anxieties to find their player two. Today I bring you John, a nerd who found his player two, and we're going to be talking about how they ended up together. In this case, we'll be talking about the pickup artist or red pill community. So he requested to remain anonymous. John, thank you so much for coming.
Hey, I'm so happy to be here. So thank you, Alex. And I actually had a very interesting journey. So I see a lot of younger guys struggle with a lot of the similar places where I was stuck. So I was kind of excited about being able to share my story and hope that it helps some people. Maybe just to frame things, I'm in my 40s. I'm soon, too soon, going on 50. So I've been struggling with this journey that I think a lot of people are oftentimes on the earlier end of for quite a while now. And I'm still trying to figure it out. I think this self-discovery, it never really ends. I think there is always more to discover and more challenges to hit. That's probably one of my primary learnings. So it's not just about just find a girlfriend and then from then on everything is going to be, like picture book. No, then other troubles happen and then more troubles happen and so on.
Yeah, that is a dream, right? Like most people are like, oh, like I have all these issues. If only I had a girlfriend, then all of my problems will be solved. And that's not usually the case.
Exactly.
Just so that people have an idea, like what makes you a nerd? Just out of curiosity.
This is a very good question. I mean, honestly, this is one of those final things that I'm trying to figure out. So as a little kid, I had a late start, right? So I have a brother, a younger brother, right? And for a long time, he was the only other kid of my age that I knew. So my parents put us into kindergarten relatively late. So the first time I actually ran into other kids, I was already 5, and I was terrified and really had a struggle in kindergarten. I eventually made like one friend, and I just hung on to that one other guy and did not want to have anything to do with any of the other guys. I thought they were stupid, and I didn't want to have anything to do with them. And this then became kind of a pattern. I became a loner. I oftentimes in school, I attached myself to like this one other person who I found who was like exactly on my wavelength and just sort of shut out everybody else. Then, during my primary school years, my parents moved jobs, and that means I moved schools a whole bunch of times. So I think, realized that even this like one or two friends I was able to make, I would just keep losing and I would have to keep restarting. And I eventually discovered computers, and I could take my computer with me no matter how much we moved. And I just got into, games and into programming. I'm a self-taught programmer. And that just entered me into this like very deep, isolated pit. Back then, things weren't very social. You had to actually go to the library to find information. And you were usually there alone, and you had to be quiet. And so it just learning wasn't a fundamentally social thing. I also thought everything that we were being taught in school was silly, and I just really wanted to learn programming and just forget about everything else and ignore everything that was going on around me otherwise. So that was probably what makes me a nerd. But then, of course, I got into all kinds of other nerdy things like, fantasy stuff, but and also the whole video games, etc. So all of the nerdy things I do, I tick all of those boxes. But for me, the real hardcore nerding was the computer and programming.
Yeah. Yeah, that's something that for me as a digital nomad, like I feel sort of like the same way. Like, I mean, I move cities every 3 to 6 months, but I'm a grown up, so it's a different experience. And for me, it's the same. It's like the thing that I can take with me is a computer, but for me, the computer and the phone are ways to stay connected with friends and family. Right.
Yeah.
I'm guessing when you were growing up, the internet was
we didn't have phones.
Exactly.
There was no internet. So that was like computers were, just, how do you say, not networked at all.
Yeah. So that would be much more isolating. Right. And I'm interested because you're saying like school was silly. Everyone was silly except for maybe one person.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that affected how you were viewing dating?
I mean, yes, for sure. That's so. See, also the other difference is that these days, like kids who are, quite antisocial, like, their parents, will get them to get diagnosed, to be on the spectrum, whatever. We didn't have that back then. So to this day, I was never diagnosed or whatever. But I think that now, seeing what that is like, I do think that I'm definitely on the spectrum in some way, right? But again, like that just did not come up at that time. But I was always just drawn to other very nerdy and unusual people. And the other, like, dating and stuff. So for the longest time, I was stuck in, how like little kids, little boys find that like girls are gross. I think maybe because I'm on the spectrum, I was like stuck in that mindset for way longer than is normal. Like I don't think I, had that kind of like early teen transformation of like starting to find girls interesting. That came like very late for me. And then this feeling of uncomfortableness, this is going to be kind of a pattern because I don't know why, but I think it was really until university, I did not have like a single positive interaction with any girls ever that I can recall. I mean, I know that I think like in 6th grade, there were like 2 girls in my class who at one point made fun of me doodling in my notebook and called me a freak. It's like, and that just stayed in my mind because that was like my single interaction with like girls of my age. I mean, obviously I had like interactions with like, clerks and like, in the post office and like teachers who were women, right? So it's not like I never had interactions with women, but like not within my own age range, right? Like, not at all.
I think like interactions with people who are your peers are much different than interactions with people who maybe you have like you're saying, like teachers, right? Like they have like a power dynamic, or with people who have like a service dynamic, like, I don't know, waiters or clerks or whatever it is. Like there's a big difference. And I mean, many of us have been bullied. I mean, I can really think of almost anyone who has not been bullied in school. Like even if you were not the one who was bullied the most, almost everyone has been bullied at some point.
Yeah. And certainly, this nerdiness, I'm also like the typical nerdy looking guy, with glasses and everything, the stereotypical, computer nerd. Like I would get cast in the sci-fi movie as the computer nerd because I just look exactly like that. So yes, of course you get picked on all the time, and this definitely does something to your self-esteem and your prospect. I obviously I assumed that I would like never ever have any sort of chance with these girls, right? So
Yeah.
it's funny though. I there was like one anecdote in my freshman year university. There was a girl who was interested in me and passed me these like weird written notes with like weird symbols on them, and like it was like really weird and cryptic, and I just did not get it, and I just thought she was crazy, and it was just many years later I was like, oh, she was into me. Because
Yeah.
for me this notion that like a girl would be into me, this was just like unthinkable, you know. This like it was like beyond, like it would have been like outside of the box thinking for me.
Yeah. You know, I think that's what happens with many people. It's they never had a good experience with whatever gender they're interested in, and they can't conceive of the idea that somebody would be into them. And so when
Yeah,
someone is not direct enough, they just assume that like there's no way they would be interested in me. Like that's just not a
yeah.
thing because those things don't happen to me. And I think like, at least in my case, in my own story, one of the biggest shifts was being like, okay, no, somebody can be interested in me.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It is possible.
Yeah. So for me, that shift, there was a dramatic shift like that, but it was already like after university when I was already starting to work, right? It was like first couple of years of work, where I got a message from one of my nerdy high school friends that he has a girlfriend because he learned about this like pickup artist techniques, and like he somehow managed to use that to get a girlfriend, and I should look this up because it's like, you know, it's like the new thing. And I
It's
was
magic.
just so shocked by this because I thought this guy was an even bigger loser than I was. Like, you know, if this guy was able to get girls, then like some of my fundamental assumptions about the world were wrong.
Yeah.
Um, and that means that I could maybe also, if I could put my mind to it. So I researched this PUA stuff. I found out that there's like a local lair in my city. And I just like totally dove into this. I went like sarging 6 nights a week. And
So,
just like
sorry,
after months and
just to
months of
clarify,
doing that, right? Like I went on my first dates.
for like maybe younger people,
Yeah.
because I've seen this come up quite often. It's so for us older folks, pickup artist community is what is now called red pill community.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Right? It's
Yeah, I don't even know the new lingo.
yeah, like because I mean I don't know why it changed. I'm not part of that community, so I don't really follow much. But I do know that like when we were growing up, I mean I'm younger than you, and you maybe like 10 years, but like the only thing that was available when you wanted to learn how to date was pickup artists, right?
Yeah.
Like how to do magic to
Exactly.
end up sleeping with someone. And that later turned into, I think, like this is the truth, and that's why it's called red pill, right? But it's basically the same. Like if you look at the advice that they give, it's basically the same. So you got this email from your friend who was like, hey, like I found this, like this is magic. You started checking it out. What did you find? Like
I remember there was like this one web, like back then, like having one web page on a topic was just like huge, you know. That was that was the best you could get. Like these days, right? Like there's a million resources on any topic you can think of, but back then there was this like one web page. I don't remember what particular web page it was, but like ultimately it was a collection of like, I remember back then there was something called the mystery method. There was this book, The Game by Neil Strauss. And there were a couple of other guys who were mostly just writing derivative information that was like by these other two people. But it was basically about I mean, what I was doing is like this whole cocky and funny spiel, right? So it was like being an actor kind of. So obviously my real personality is very introverted, relatively unexciting. I like sit down at my computer, I just like I'm programming, or I'm like, you know, that like that's my personality. It's not very interactive. But this was all about like becoming this completely other persona who was, you know, just I don't know, just like this adventurous person who like, who knew like, I don't know. I even like practiced a couple of magic tricks. I wore flashy clothing. Like I would not get caught dead in clothing like that, but I would be just like, dressed as extrovertedly and flamboyantly as you
Yeah.
can imagine. And go to bars and clubs like that, and just strike up conversations, and then you are so weird and out of the ordinary that people can't help having some sort of conversation with them, and then you try to get a phone number, and then you follow up on that number or whatever. So basically like that.
How did you feel about that? About becoming
uh,
something that was totally different from you?
Obviously it was awkward, and let me tell you where it gets particularly awkward is that you can obviously keep this up for like a drunken night out, or certainly like the 15 minutes it takes you to like get a phone number. But then you go on a first date, and that's really awkward because you can't do this for like an afternoon when you're sober. Like that just does not work, or at
When you're
least it did
sober.
not for me. um,
Yeah.
so so that basically I had a very poor rate of turnover from that. Because that's the other thing, right? So you don't, because you're like crashing and burning so often, it's just a numbers game, right? So you like go talk to, I don't know, like 2 dozen people in an evening, right?
That's a
And
lot.
then maybe you get like one number, right, from that, and all the other ones, they're just like, get away from me, you weirdo. so
Yeah.
so you have to kind of like, that's also like eroding at your self-esteem at some point. But it's just like a game, and I am a very competitive person, right? And you do this together with other guys, and it's basically it's not so much about the people you're meeting at all. It's really completely about like, oh, I got like 3 numbers tonight,
Yeah.
and the other guy only got one number, so you get to feel better. In this
Yeah.
weird, so it's a game. It gamifies that part of the whole spiel, right?
Yeah.
um
I
the
think
the
there's
dates,
pros and cons
however,
to
are
that.
just like so disconnected. It obviously, like, the dates were just a complete disaster. And that paradoxically, the dates with, let's say, less attractive women, where I wasn't trying so hard, actually went the best, because in retrospect, there I wasn't trying so hard to fake
Yeah.
this persona, but I was actually being myself. And this is the thing that I couldn't conceive, is that anybody would actually be interested in my boring old self. But when I was just being genuine, like, it actually went further, weirdly enough, like, where I wasn't trying to just be an entertainer. Um, but I
I don't
think
think
it,
it's
it
weird
took
at
me a
all.
long time to realize that, kind of.
Yeah. I don't think it's weird at all. Like something that I have found every time I talk to people who are into the pickup or red pill communities is I hear exactly what you're saying. It's, I have to pretend to be someone else. And if I try to take that mask off, then things fall apart.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
some of those people say like, see, that's because all women only like that type of person.
Yeah,
And what actually happens for me, I think, is you are getting a date. So sorry, the other person is going on a date with the person they think they met when
yeah,
they agree to the
exactly.
date. Then they go to a date and they find someone else, right? Or they
Exactly,
start dating. At
exactly.
some point, you just get tired of
Yeah.
the mask, take
Yes,
it off.
exactly.
And then it's
Absolutely.
like, this is not the person that I was going
Yeah.
out with.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It has nothing to do whether that's the person that every woman or every whatever wants to date. It's just that the person that you found them because you were acting a certain way and then you changed it. Versus if you are yourself, and it's not just being yourself, right? It's like being comfortable with who you are. Like you're saying, like just chilling and and just being comfortable and more relaxed, then you can filter out the ones that actually like you for who you are.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah, yeah. That's very good. I think I also realized that eventually, but it took a long time. And then even after you realize it, then like later on, I did periodically, as people do, found myself single again. Even though, I mean, spoiler alert, I did get into some longer relationships. But then you're single again because for whatever reason it doesn't work out. and then okay, then you're back at zero, and you need to meet people. And how do you do that without this like crutch of like I don't know, just like cold
Persona.
approaches and having this like exciting personality? Because again, like my inherent personality is just like it doesn't really lend itself to just asking people out. But maybe there is a way, and I just didn't find it. But that was something I didn't end up figuring out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's I mean, what were your parents like? Like, were your parents like super extroverted and outgoing, or they're more like you?
No. They were super introverted. And I think that was also part of the reason why I didn't really learn from my parents how to make friends and how to be social, is because they were fundamentally not social either.
Yeah, but like they still found each other and they still made you.
Yes, exactly.
And that is something that most people don't realize. It's like at some point in your genetic like background, there were people like you who found someone to make someone similar.
Yes.
So there has to be a way.
Yes, of course. I mean, but of course, I think that social conditions do, are very diverse, and they also change. So obviously, the way you meet people in a small rural village is very different than from how you meet people in like, New York City. And also, people from like a couple generations ago, certainly the young people today are saying like, oh, you have no idea like what the world is like today. Like back then it was easier. I don't know if I would necessarily agree with that, but that's certainly out there as an opinion. I think the way my parents met, and I think a lot of these normally introverted people, the way they meet is that they're just, they're in the same class, or they study together, or, they meet at the library or whatever. So in this kind of like more, I guess, like structured social systems. And maybe because I was just so, I don't know, like unusually asocial, I think even when I'm, in a class with other people, I just like, unless they come talk to me, I at least back then, certainly, that I would just not go out and even introduce myself. So I think probably I was even less social than my parents were in many ways.
Yeah. Well, look, like, I mean, you already have a partner, so it's not, but at least for people, listening and watching. So I've interviewed hundreds of nerds in relationships, and most of them meet at work, at nerd activities, hobbies, conventions, all that stuff, social media. That's usually where they're going. And like hobbies includes like video games and communities and all that stuff as well. Right. Dating apps come a bit later. I got 6%. It's usually around 10% in general for the normal population. And those are activities where you already have something in common, right? And you're already with people who are like-minded. It's not like you're saying, like approaching 24 people in one night and maybe getting one number with a personality that's not yours. It's hanging out, having a good time, just enjoying yourself. And that's how you end up meeting people, right?
Yeah.
So I'm curious, like you ended up meeting your partner through cold approaches, doing all this stuff. How did that go? How did that work?
Well, hold on. So maybe before then, I was eventually able to like navigate the whole dating scene well enough to get to the to the groping part, and that was the next disaster for me. So I had paralyzing performance anxiety, and I was just not able to just perform at all. Like, and I don't know. I just want to call this out because I don't know. Like, this is one of those things that I think young guys rarely talk about because it's probably still considered shameful and very awkward. And there's a lot of comedies where this is like the
Yeah.
the thing that where the humor comes from, basically.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I had a long time to basically overcome that. I went to the doctor, I got Viagra, I went the pay to win route to get like more practice in without, because the thing is, even once you start dating a girl, my experience was that once you just cannot perform in the bedroom, they will just ghost you, like they are just gone. And I mean, I understand that to some degree, but I got ghosted so much by people who I otherwise got along with really well. And
So were these
that was a hard
women
time.
that you met with cold approaches?
Yeah, exactly,
Okay.
exactly. But
Like,
so
I
and
would
maybe
find that
maybe all
less.
of that is related, right? Maybe all of that is related because you never really had a kind of you didn't have like a friendship first and like
Yeah,
a level of trust that then turns into
that's it.
more. It's basically a stranger,
Yes.
and maybe that's the thing. So I maybe that we can chalk this up as a further like downside to the whole red pill, as you call it,
Yeah,
approach,
pickup artist.
which is
Yeah.
that you never really develop a kind of connection that maybe stabilizes this, right? Um, so that was another impediment for me,
Yeah.
and
How did you overcome it?
I think I overcame it exactly in the kind of way that you are sort of alluding to, which is to meet more women in kind of like social situations. So basically, like, I don't know, common activity club type of setting where it's like you're just not a total stranger.
Yeah.
And also, where I also like, I think I also dated a couple of like older women who are just like, don't pressure you so much. They've seen everything already, like
Yeah.
none of this is new to them. And they're just like, they just know how to make you feel sort of like less stressed, I guess. So kind of a combination of those factors. Um,
That's what I was going to ask you about. So do you think that it's because with those other women, I mean, other women, they would know better, so they could sort of guide you and help you. But like you were talking about meeting people more socially and like in settings that you actually got to know them. Do you think that part of it is that you actually felt comfortable with them and safe?
Yes, for sure. And I then ended up having some regrets because I ended up just like breaking off relationship with, I mean, and when I say older women, I don't mean like massively older. I mean like 2 years
Doesn't matter.
older
Yeah.
or something like that, right? So, and because I had this like really messed up ideas in my head about how like I like a lot of guys like they like picture like what their like ideal girl is, just like women do, like the guy has to be taller than me or whatever, like these kind of
Yeah.
artificial
We're all human.
requirements. And I also had these things in my head, and then I regret now kind of like breaking off relationships with like women who like did not meet my like bizarre criteria that I fabricated, but were otherwise like really, really nice people who I had like a perfectly good relationship with. That was just stupid. But yeah, I mean, chalk it up to being naive, right? I eventually ended up in a relationship of like nearly 3 years and even got engaged. But and that one was really like kind of like picture book initially. Like both of us were like totally in love and everything was amazing for the beginning. And then I hit the next problem, which was just like paralyzing jealousy and anxiety about the relationship. And it actually, I think we were both susceptible to this, right? So we were both relatively, I don't know, inexperienced and maybe, I don't know, but basically we were not able to stabilize our relationship because we were like constantly like jealous and like fearful of like what might happen if like I look at another girl in a particular way, or she I don't know, talks to this other guy, and it
Yeah.
was always just drama, drama, drama. And so I don't know exactly what we could have done there, but it was like after like nearly 3 years, it was like really hard to see that go to pieces. And but yeah, like I was just not able to like I guess it's a self-esteem problem that I just cannot, like, again, like I cannot believe that this girl really wants to be with me. Like that's just like on a deep level, I just like can't believe that. So I'm always thinking she's always looking for an upgrade, so to say.
Where do you think that belief came from your side? Because I mean, from her side we can't know, but like from your side, where do you think that came
Yeah,
from?
I mean, I guess like my whole childhood about like, again, like the bullying, the being picked on, the being unpopular, that stuff, right? So,
Right.
this is another thing in psychology. I did end up getting therapy where I talked about this stuff with professionals. And the funny thing there is that in psychoanalysis, they always take it back all the way to your parents and like what your relationship is with your mom and with your dad, if at all, right? The thing is, like, I think I had a lovely relationship with my parents. I mean, maybe the fact there is that they themselves were not particularly social people, right? Like, but I think my real troubles were actually with my peers and in school, right? So
Yeah.
I think somehow that's not sufficiently appreciated a lot of the time. Like, it's not just your mom who can like ruin you; it can also be the other
Well,
kids.
the idea of the mom comes from Freud. There's
Yeah.
nowadays there's lots of different lines of psychotherapy and therapies. Like it's no longer just your mom's
Mm.
fault,
Yeah.
and it is known that you can have. I mean, I like this podcaster who's called Dr. Kirk Honda from Psychology in Seattle, and he says that best case scenario, if your parents do everything right, you will only need 7 years of therapy.
That's great.
Best
I'll
case
need to
scenario.
look up. I need to look this guy up. Yeah.
So it and like the trauma could be like something as simple as like, no, you can't grab the steering wheel of the car because you're 3 years old. And it's like, but I want to drive the car. No, you can't. You're 3. And then like, oh,
Right.
trauma, right? It's like your
Yeah.
parents were doing the
Yeah.
right thing.
Exactly. Exactly.
Or like you're saying, like maybe you just get along well with them, but the issue was at school. Like in my case, it's kind of same story, right? Like I really got along with my parents. They're still together. They love each other. Everything great. But I had really, really toxic relationships from when I was very young
Yeah.
with past partners. And so that kind of sort of shaped how I viewed relationships and my issues with dating, right?
Yeah.
I was thinking like, since you're talking about like not feeling secure and stuff, plus I think another factor was that you met many of these women, or at least you started meeting many of these women putting on a mask.
Yeah.
And what that means is that who you are is not okay.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah. Makes sense. Yeah.
It's okay. I have to be someone else in order to be accepted. Therefore, you will never feel comfortable because yourself is not okay, and you presented something different knowingly to this person who accepted something different unknowingly.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense. So in
Yeah.
any case, I went back to doing the whole pickup thing after we broke up with my fiance, and then it was actually even worse because by that time, in like career wise, I was already quite senior, so I was already working for like over 10 years. At that point, I was like in a leadership role. I was respected, right, as a professional. But then when you're like going out and trying to meet people, you're starting at zero, and this is just such an incongruent feeling. So that you go to work and you're like really respected there, and then you like go to a bar, and then it's just like it's again like go away, you freak. so
Yeah.
so
Who are
I
you?
was just, yeah, exactly, like who are you even, like you're a nobody. And I at that point I just realized that yeah, I'm just so fed up with this. I really don't want to keep doing this. And the other thing I realized is that because I had this like paralyzing jealousy episode with like this girl who, we really had this sort of, we were really into each other. I thought that like, okay, I need to find somebody who I'm really not that into, and where it's more of a friendship, and because and that's how I can overcome this paralyzing. Might also be really stupid. It probably is, but this is what I was thinking, right? Um,
If I don't
and
care about her, then I won't be jealous, basically.
exactly. I mean, maybe
Yeah.
it's like this weird, like computer nerd kind of like overly rational kind of like thinking, but
I'm going to be with someone that I don't like. Great.
so that's basically right. You were asking me how I met the lady who ended up being my wife, and she was basically like she was just like somebody who lived in the same neighborhood, and um, we ran into each other just like in the yard of our house, and then we ran into each other like a little bit later. In like the underground garage, and I just like asked her out, like, do you want to come up at like, just like have a glass of wine at my place, like, which is just like upstairs, right? Like, right, because we both lived there. She said yes, and yeah, I like it was at that point it was weird because we just kept staying together, and I think it became like a more of a friendship kind of thing. So maybe that thing that I was missing all along, right? It wasn't like super romantic at any point, but I deliberately did not want to go there because I had like I got really burned by the super romantic approach, or I thought like, okay, I don't want that anymore. um
But you were dating.
yeah, and then
Okay.
very quickly we ended up having a kid, and then a second kid. So yeah, so we're now married for well over a decade now. However, now we have like typical married people problems. So we have like a nearly total dead bedroom, and the relationship is a lot about who gets to have their way with like petty, you know like household stuff. There was a period where we were just fighting a lot. um and there was a lot of worrying, certainly on my end, on like the typical married guy problems, like what if she just like gets fed up and just like takes the kids and takes the house and kicks me
Yeah.
out, right? So yeah, that's when I started doing therapy and trying to figure out all of this crazy stuff that has happened.
Yeah. When we were chatting before coming on the recording, you mentioned that because you took the pickup artist route, there were things that you never got to learn that affected your marriage.
Yeah, I mean, I think this whole thing about like even like who I then chose to be married to, how I ended up in this marriage. I think that also, I mean, this is like one kind of continuum journey, and I think if I would have done things differently in the beginning, I would have ended up in a different place at the end. um, I think also, if I earlier I would have been able to have like better um, trust based and sort of like more I don't even know what to call it, but like more traditional ways of like getting to know another person and really sort of being with a particular person for because of who they are and who you are, and not because they just happen to be the random person who gave the phone number in a bar or whatever. Then you kind of like maybe you grow more internally because you learn to value yourself more and see who you connect with. And I think I was missing that. And
Yeah.
um, I think even now, I think a lot of the anxiety that I have, it even colors how I relate to my wife. And I think a lot of this sort of like emphasizing power struggle and sort of and being at the same time avoiding a lot of closeness. I think maybe I would have been able to overcome that. So one thing that came out of a lot of the therapy is that at least my second therapist basically diagnosed me as avoidantly attached, and that I have a big problem with trust and closeness. So
Sounds accurate.
maybe it's even, the fact that I'm not like doing this on video and saying, like who I am, right? Like this is
Yes.
also related to that. This is another, like, that's what the therapist would say, like, see, you're doing it again. And yeah, I mean, she has a point. This is true. And I hope that maybe I can continue to grow, and in a couple of years I can maybe come on your podcast again, and we can do a proper one with video, because I learned to trust a little bit more.
I would love that.
Yeah. So that's basically my original point, that this is such a long journey, and like already, it's like I'm approaching 50 at this point, and I'm still working on it, and I'm still trying to trust people more, and be okay, and like be okay with closeness, and etc.
Yeah. Do you feel like, did you at some point get the chance to take off the mask?
I mean, I don't know if so. Yes, I think that's such a complicated question, because what is the mask even? So obviously, after you're married for over a decade, you don't really have a mask anymore, or at least not a conscious one, but perhaps a subconscious one. And it's this trust, right? So it's not really a mask. I think like an onion is a more appropriate thing, right? Like there's many layers, and you are okay with like shedding a certain amount of layers, but then not going beyond a certain point. So there's a lot of things that my wife doesn't know about me, or my kids don't know about me, or certainly my parents don't know about me, right?
Sure.
But so it's like, I don't think it's about like having one mask. It's like you're just like entirely made of masks, and it's like how many masks you're willing to like peel off to reveal more masks.
Right. So basically, the pickup artist advice give you sort of more layers to put on to protect yourself.
Yeah.
Which means that it keeps getting harder and harder to sort of like just be yourself. And I mean, while I was asking you the question, I was thinking like, because there's also the idea of fake it till you make it, which is basically like, okay, maybe this is not you now, but if you keep doing it, then it becomes you.
Yeah, I used to think that. Works.
But?
I think, the more I did these, back when I would do 6 nights a week, go clubbing, go to bars, meet people. I know I was like really grinding it. It was like, grinding your character in like a game, right? Like leveling up your character.
Man.
It was exhausting, but again, like I'm telling you, I'm a competitive person, and when I really want to, like, it's like Dark Souls, it's like that. Like you keep failing on the boss fight, but you don't give up, and you eventually get better at it. I think, when I was doing that, it was really so here, just because so far we were only saying relatively bad things about the whole pickup approach, but I can tell you 2 things that were good. So first of all, one way to look at my story is that if I wouldn't have started with that, I might still be like a single guy who is just like sitting at his computer. And the other thing is that,
and there was no alternative back then.
Yeah, I mean, obviously,
information wise. Like,
yes, information wise, like you could have just done the completely traditional thing of like, just like, meeting people in your class or whatever, right? Like, or at your job.
But if you don't know anything and you want to read stuff and you want to learn
that's right.
That's the only thing that was available.
That's correct. The other big thing is that just the fact of like talking to strangers and getting good at it is a huge thing, even for your work, right? So for me, that took me from being, like individual contributor, as they call it, programmer, to like a manager of more and more people, is because I was able to talk to people, have difficult conversations without, just shutting down.
Flinching. Yeah.
Yes. That was huge for me. So I think if I got something out of it outside of dating, then that was that. I went through a huge transformation, even at my job. If you ask what I was like before I started this, my coworkers, right, like the other guys, they would have said like, "Oh, he's like this really shy, nerdy guy. We don't really know him because he doesn't speak much." To like, yeah, like he's a cool guy. Like he's really an impressive person.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. And I think now that you're saying the fake it till you make it, so in the job half of my experience, I was really able to make it eventually, and because at at the job, you end up like continuing to practice. Like you keep, you give talks, you do public speaking, you coach people, you go out to lunch with colleagues, strangers, etc. So it like propagates, and it becomes you, right? Eventually. With the dating
That's the idea.
thing, yes, exactly. It didn't work. At least it didn't work for me, is because once I never actually liked the cold approach stuff. I actually hated it. Maybe that's also why I wasn't all that good at it. But I mean, obviously, it wasn't part of my natural personality to just like go up to strangers on the street and start talking to them. That was just like awkward and weird. So like it is for most people. But there, as soon as I started dating a particular person or got into a relationship, et cetera, then I stopped doing all of that. So then I kind of like, I lost that skill set again. I mean, if you're then, in like a relationship of like a year or something, and then you need to start picking that up, you're kind of like back at zero. It's like you lose it because you don't use it.
It doesn't compound.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, like, I mean, I like to give the pickup artists and reptile communities a hard time because I don't agree with it. But again, when we were starting, that's the only thing that was available. I never read the game or look at mystery, whatever. But I mean, I'm from Argentina, and there was a website that somebody had pretty similar ideas. They had made like a series of very long articles, which I must have saved somewhere there. And later I realized that, okay, that's what that was. And some things I thought made sense back then, some things I didn't, something I tried, some things worked in a way, like you're saying. What I did find was that it sort of teaches you to pretend to be confident and to pretend to be secure, right? So one example that's engraved in my memory is at the time I was going to a Chinese medicine doctor, and he was saying how like drinking hot water, just water, plain water, hot water is good. And I was going to a German class, and there was this woman that I liked, that I used to sit sort of in the same table with, and some other kid who also liked her, right? He sort of, I got a glass of hot water, put it on the table, went to do something else, and he moved my glass. He's like, "That's hot water?" I said, like, "You're a weirdo." I said, "Yep." I sat down, and there was no discussion about it. And I realized like, oh, like this whole thing is right? It's like, if you pretend like you're fine with it, then nobody will say anything about it. What I realized much later is that can lead to some sense of security, but like you're saying, it's avoidant. It's not I'm secure in myself and in relation to others. It's I do not let others get near me because I want to stay safe. The other approach, that is the one that I'm suggesting, and there's one, since you mentioned attachment theory, that's actually what the literature says, is if we're talking about attachment, security or insecurity, it means that attached to a person or to others. It's relationships, and you have to fix that in relationships. And in the beginning, that was studied between mother and child. Then it was like, okay, both parents and child. Then it was like, okay, other attachment figures like teachers, therapists, mentors, and the person. Then in 2023, there was a book that actually expanded that to communities, groups, countries, religions, etc. Right? And if you start making friends and you feel accepted by those friends, just the way you are, that will actually make you a more secure person. And that will actually make you feel more confident when you deal with other people. Because if someone says, oh, I think what you're doing is silly, you already have your friends who say, I love that thing that you do.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, yeah.
Right. Which I think that actually helps with what you were saying about jealousy that you were saying before, or performance anxiety. If all those things that you were listing, right? Like what I see from the pickup artist community or red pill community is that they teach you to pretend to be secure. They tell you like,
okay, that's true.
Like don't reply right away because you're gonna sound desperate. So like take some time or whatever. Yeah, secure people don't really mind if you take a day or two to respond. Right? They're not like right there answering all the time.
Sure.
Like they have all these things where it's like, do the behavior, but don't do the actual work of actually being secure. That's the part that I don't like.
Yeah, sure. But of course, it's much more difficult to actually become secure if you're not, right?
Yes. But like you're saying, if you had become secure rather than pretended to be somebody that you're not and learned to be accepted as someone that you're not, then things would have been different.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, we can't know, but...
Yeah. I mean, the other interesting thing is that as part of this layer, as part of this community, I got to know a lot of the other guys who were, for various reasons, doing the same thing. And they were very different personalities. Some of those guys were actually very social and outgoing, and they would have had no problem getting a relationship. They were in it so that they can get even more relationships, you know.
Fair enough.
So those guys were obviously the really successful one, because this is the thing. Like somehow, as I'm sure you realize, like women can smell this security, you know. So
meant to.
Somehow. Meant to, perhaps, yes, but it's and the guys who were at the beginning not those obviously successful ones, the ones like me who had like zero chance otherwise, and these techniques they were able to get like a little bit of a chance. Maybe there are exceptions, but like you are saying, the vast majority of them, and I'm still in touch with a number of them, they did not end up in long-term relationships ever. Maybe I may be an exception, and I think maybe that's also why you were interested to talk to me, is because it's really rare to find somebody who was like had serious trouble in the beginning and then was able to somehow like navigate this to not be, you know, like how do you say, evolutionarily get their genes discarded.
Well, we're talking about taking the pickup route.
Yes.
Like, I know plenty of people who are super awkward, super weird, who are in long-term relationships and have kids.
Yes.
And everything's fine.
This is the other interesting thing. You know, what is then so weird is that once you have kids and once you are going to, you know, like the school meetings, the kindergarten meetings with other parents, you realize that the vast majority of other parents are not cool guys and girls at all. They're actually just like super nerdy or like lame, or like, you know, just like not particularly attractive. And you wonder, like, where were all of these people when I was like, you know, just trying to have any kind of conversation with like these like super attractive girls at the bar or at the disco. It's
You know
just
where they
such a
were?
disconnect. Tell me.
They were behind your confirmation bias.
Exactly. That's a
Because
very good way to put it.
Because you go to those communities and you hear that only men over 6 foot get women. Only men with over six figures get women. I don't know what the equivalent is for the women. I have no idea, but I'm sure that there's something on the other side. And I have had these conversations with people, right? Like somebody telling me like, I can't find a partner because I'm 5'4" or 5'7". And like, I'm 5'7". That was never an issue for me. And I've been all over the world. And when I say like, have you looked at couples? Like, have you seen real life couples? They're like, yeah, I've seen them. They're all beautiful people who are all over 6 feet and make all 6 figures. And I'm like, yeah, I highly doubt it, man. But because what you're consuming is telling you this is the truth. And look, I get it. One of the struggles that I had when I started doing this was that, and I remember like vividly, I was chatting on a Discord, and this kid, high school kid, was like, "Oh, I like my best friend. What should I do?" And I was like, "Well, just go tell her and accept whatever she said, where she says, and you see if you need to take some time like apart and to heal, or maybe she likes you, but just go and find out." And somebody else was like, "No, what you have to do is like not respond to her for like this many hours so she feels insecure, and then she's gonna start wanting you, blah, blah, blah." And this kid's like, "Oh, okay." And then I realized that like what they are selling is the truth or the security of this is exactly what you have to do, right? It sort of gives you a sense of, okay, I know what to do. I have sort of like a rule book, right? These are the rules. And if I follow the rules, then I'm going to get what I want. And that's why I started doing these interviews, right? I've been interviewing nerds in relationships to show all the many different ways that couples actually form, which 99% of the time has nothing to do with all that stuff.
Yeah.
Right? There's not really a like a step-by-step rule of this is how you do it. I have systems. Everyone has systems. But it's not like there's only one way and only one type of person finds a partner.
Yeah, there's a lot of randomness involved. That's the other thing. A lot of RNG.
Yeah, totally. And so like when you go to sort of the reputed community, they tell you like women behave like this, men need to behave like that. Otherwise, this doesn't work. And if you don't have this stuff, then it won't work. And then when you go out on the street, like you're saying, like, where were these couples?
That's actually also very interesting.
I can assure you they were there. You just weren't seeing them.
This is now that you're saying like women behave like this, absolutely in the pickup community they say exactly how women behave, and all women behave like this. And whenever like talking to my wife, if we always have these hilarious conversations, or at least hilarious for her, because I tell her how she should be behaving as a woman, because
your
of
female
course,
mind.
my only information about how women behave is from like this pickup guides, right? And she's like saying, "Okay, but I'm not like that at all. Can't you tell? Like I've never behaved like that." And like, are you saying I'm not a real woman? No. So obviously, my own experience with the women that I have met is that in fact a vast number of them do not in fact behave like how they are supposedly behaving in
how they should.
Yes, exactly.
Well, I was having the conversation with someone who was very deep into the pickup artist community, and I was mentioning how usually when I go on dates, I do this little dance of like, let me pay, no, we'll go halfway, no, please let me pay, and blah, blah, blah. In the end, I like paying for the first date, right? Like I enjoy it, I feel useful, I feel like a gentleman. And he looked at me straight in the eyes, and he's like, I've never had a woman offer to pay, ever. And I'm like, well, we're clearly dating different women.
Hmm.
And that all comes down to like how he's meeting them, how he's
Yes.
approaching them, what kind of people he's
Yes.
meeting. I told him, I'm like, look, you're deep into the pickup party stuff. The way that works will lead you to this type of women. The way that I do it leads to women who usually are more like how I like, right? Because I'm just showing how I am. And if they reject me, fine. And usually that means that the women that I end up dating, they lean more towards the feminist side where they want equality. Mm-hmm. And they may not be as comfortable with not splitting the bill, right? Mm-hmm. In the end, I'm like, no, come on. Then like, I imagine you. Like, okay, sure. And then like maybe next time they insist, I want to pay for the next one, right? Great. Yeah. Fantastic. But for him, in his world, he's like, women never offer to pay. Yeah. Because the women that he was dating never offered to pay. And I absolutely believe him. But it's how he was filtering the people that he was meeting.
Yeah. I mean, maybe what I can say about that is yes, you're absolutely right. And I mean, it should be obvious, right? So if you are going, you're hanging out in these clubs, I don't know, late at night, and sort of like hitting up women who've had like a number of drinks, and then at that point they give you their number and they are interested in you because you look like a total clown, because that's how you're dressed in your funny hat and your crazy sunglasses and whatever. Then is that the kind of woman you eventually want to marry? Like, I don't know. It is a particular kind of woman, because after a while you start seeing patterns, and those women are fun and crazy sometimes, but not necessarily long-term relationship material for many people.
Exactly, for many people. That's what I wanted to clarify, right? It's like they're not way of material for you. For the real you, not the one that you're showing up with the funny clothes and stuff.
Yeah, they match with the funny clowns, and that's the thing. So even if you somehow manage to bridge this awkwardness during the date and keep them interested, that woman was meant to be with a funny clown, and you're just not the funny clown.
Unless you like that and you want to keep that up for a long time.
That's right.
Which I think sounds exhausting.
It is. It absolutely is. Yeah. No. Yeah. For sure.
John, is there anything else that you would like to share, to say that we didn't cover?
No, I think we went over everything. I think ultimately the main positive message I want to share is that it's not hopeless, and even though it's always difficult, but it's just don't give up, guys. Don't give up, and no matter how hopeless it seems at times, like you will figure it out.
Awesome. Thank you. And everyone watching and listening, if you have any questions for John or for previous guests, or if you want me to ask something else in the future, leave a comment. Let me know. I'd love to hear from you. Maybe we can bring John back, and maybe we'll actually see his face if he becomes a bit more secure. Who knows?
Exactly. I'll try.
Anyway, thank you so much for listening, and continue playing. Looking for a player too? I've interviewed hundreds of nerds and learned what really works. Download your data-backed guide with real stories, actionable tips, and a step-by-step system for finding love the nerd way at datelikeanerd.com/reality.